It's Saturday. ShopDog and I are out. I am back from California, and we just spent an hour kind of tracing down the brake switch issue. We've got the switch pulled. We've got jumpers. We went through the column switch. We got back to the connector back here. Everything seemed fine. You know, pulled the lenses, pulled out bulbs. Everything's fine. So I'm like, huh. So I dug around. Well, like I always say, just because something's new doesn't mean it's good. These two, they look good. They're not any good. They also say China on them. So, you know, think that through for a minute. These are Sylvanias. And look at that. They actually work. In fact, I'll go turn them on. So, we will start by turning our battery on. Decided to keep current protection while I'm working and jumping stuff. You never know. Okay, so let's start with park brake. You'll see those work. Yep, so those are now working. Okay, let's go turn off the parking brake and go plug in my temporary brake switch, because unfortunately I have that other one out for testing. So this is my temporary brake switch. I'm sure you noticed that we drew a little current there. I'm also sure you noticed that we now have a brake switch. So, literally, there's nothing wrong in the wiring, nothing wrong in the switches, nothing wrong anywhere. It's cheap Chinese freaking light bulbs. ShopDog and I have dove into the washer switch, and it was just nasty inside. So I'm trying to kind of build it up. I'm not sure that I can actually save it, but, you know, it costs nothing to try for just a few minutes. I've been cleaning things up. It's getting a lot nicer. It was just absolutely disgusting in here. I don't know what all that was. And remembering that this relies on ground through the body. So all these things need to have good contact for that to work. So we're going to put it together with a little dielectric to act as a lube and see what happens. Okay, I got that thing back in. It's not terribly fun. Let's go see if it does anything. Okay, so we got power. The car keeps trying to pick itself up, and then it'll time out. Alright. Yeah, I know the voltage is low. Hey, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's moving. Now it's moving fast. Now it's moving slow. And now the squirters are squirting. And now it's parked. Okay, we saved that switch. At least for now. With those problems solved, I guess I can move on to something that'll get us closer to maybe trying to get this started tomorrow. Not sure. Next time car's down, I gotta put that back. Luckily, no problems in all that wiring. That was gonna suck. So, now obviously fuel system hasn't been tested yet. Trying to think of what else. Obviously, we can't test cruise and stuff. That's all got to work. Gonna have to put some fluids in, change fluids tomorrow, get the exhaust on. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. This is getting pretty exciting. Okay, sometimes something that should only take a minute is more complicated than you expected, which is, you know, pretty normal on this car. The passenger side, that's pretty easy. Notice the swoopy on the driver's side, because obviously it's the original one that used to be a Y-pipe. Well, I'm still figuring out how I'm going to get it there. I got this pulled. I've been trying to pull the idler so I can drop the drag link a little more, but I can't reach everything. So I need to pop this wheel off. But to do that, I've got to get the car high enough that I can get the jack under here. You can see where the jack hits. So, 3 things at a time. So just kind of chasing that. May run out of time. We have a pub pass today, so I may run out of time before I can get there. But yeah, we're working on it, because the exhaust really does need to be in this car before we try starting it, because O2 sensors, and I'd like to have that all in there. Didn't think that would be fun, and I was not wrong. So just putting this all back together and taking it back down. I've got a pipe laid across as best I can. It's obviously not snugged or anything yet, but at least it's over that drag link, and now I gotta go put the pitman arm back on. ShopDog's exhausted. So at this point, we've got to go get cleaned up because we're a little filthy now. We have a pub pass tonight at a meadery. Neighbor Jeff is over here watching, make sure I don't screw this up. See how those clampies work? So that'll hold it all together till we can get to the exhaust shop and get a real exhaust. But we had to do all of that because I didn't realize that that pipe had to be there. Boy, that's tight on the pan, is what it is. It's probably going to rattle a little, but not for very long. So now, got to figure out, okay, and there's our O2 bunk. Nah, it's not my ideal location, but it should work. So, all right. That's where we are. I think it's time for us to clean up and get out of here. So this will, I'm not making a separate video for this. So tomorrow is Sunday. Everyone should be here for a shop day. Until then, have a nice nap. It's the next morning. ShopDog and I heading back down to the shop. They're here. They brought gas and water and all kinds of stuff. And with any luck, this thing's going to bark off today. ShopDog's kind of catching them up on his work. So Diesel was just looking at how the exhaust is hanging and how much fun it was to get it in there because we had to pull all that. Don't worry about the blocks. As soon as we charge the air up, those will come off. Yeah, so next thing on my agenda is the O2 sensor, and the reason it's low is so I can reach up and reach things. Once that's in, we'll get the car back down. He can go ahead and get working on his clutch fan. You know, he got a bunch of bolts, so hopefully something in there will work, because getting this clutch fan I think is probably not a bad call. And I want to put some fuel in this and start leak testing. That's, you know, something we haven't worked on. That's one of the systems that hasn't been tested. Also, it came to our attention that we haven't tested the reverse lights, so we're going to test those as well. Okay, ShopDog told us we better do the e-brake while we were under here, so we've been fighting that, and we finally have that all on. So typical GM fashion, it just rides the floor. So we're getting there. Now he's tightening her back up. We did have to loosen it a little. We're getting closer and closer to leak testing the fuel system, that we have no idea if all that's going to work. Remember, we made all of that kind of by ourselves. It'll work. Okay, and then because they did their bung on the outside, I've just got that going up and then both wires plugged in and then just zippied to this tube for now. We've got plenty of length to play with, so in the long run, when the real exhaust goes in, it gives us a lot of freedom on where to put the O2 sensor. So that's always kind of nice. Okay, something we hadn't expected. You're not putting a Chevrolet clutch fan on here. Not the same footprint. So we dug through my box of Flexolites that I've taken off of cars, and we're going with that 6-blade for now. So these are what we drug down, and that was what we liked the diameter and design of the most. So we didn't do any of the asymmetrics. We only went with the symmetric. So it will have a RPM it's noisiest at. So it'll be fine. We'll get there. I just put 5 gallons of fuel in, which is fun because modern gas cans suck. Diesel's getting a little closer to getting this sorted. He's figuring out what length he wants for his bolts and his spacer. We've already verified that the fan will clear his shroud, shroud in quotes. So I think I'm going to continue with my testing at this point while he's doing what he's doing. Just popped the battery on. I just shut the radio up for a minute because I need to hear what's going on. I'm going to turn the car on, hopefully not, in fact, what I'll do is I'll put it in drive. That way I know I can't over crank it, which made him laugh. So, if I... Okay, yeah, we got that thing going. So, let's see. I didn't hear the fuel pump. Let me try that again. I'm listening for that relay. That's too soon. Okay. Well, let me see how I'm going to test that, because over that air ride thing, I really can't hear it. Huh. So, yeah, that might cause us a problem. We'll come back to you in just a second. Okay, after a bit of troubleshooting, we forgot we never loaded a tune in the Sniper, so it didn't know to turn that on. So now, you can hear it. Yeah, and it's still puffing air out of the line up front. We're going to cycle it about 3 times and then pick the car up and look for leaks. See, I hear the pump.
Yep, it just popped again. I don't see any leaks up here.
I don't know that there's fuel up there yet.
Why don't I see any leaks?
Okay. So, that's a great start. I'm going to just start with the obvious. Is there a puddle under here? Not that I see yet. So, we're going to pick the car up in a minute, take a look, check all the lines. Because the worst thing that can possibly happen is fuel spraying everywhere, you don't pay attention to it, and you light the car on fire. Oh, ShopDog's inspecting my work again. On these old engines, do not forget to add your zinc. Or, you know, you could do like ViceGrip does and just run diesel motor oil, which is fine. I mean, nothing wrong with it, but you are missing some detergents. But yeah, don't forget your zinc or your cam is toast. Okay, there's a little power steering fluid in there. Didn't spill too much. I know as soon as it's running and cycling, it'll be noisy. It's going to be terrible. You know, that's just the way that goes till the lines and the gear fill up and all the air gets out. We've got oil in it, and he's just getting ready to start adding water. The one you just literally kicked out of your way? You literally just kicked it.
No, I've never used one of these before.
Okay, well, let's show the people how this works. Okay, lift the whole funnel.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of adapters depending on what kind of car you have. We tend to work on basically the same GM setup. So see, that is now sealed, and then you've got that, and then there's also little elbow adapters if your radiator is really at an angle so that you can make things. And then what's nice is, as you're filling in the funnel, if you start to realize you're too full or it stops, you block it off, and you're only going to spill just a little bit, not that whole thing. The other nice thing is, when you do have your car running and you're letting it burp, just keep it full to about here, and then every time it goes down, you add a little more, you add a little more. This is now the high point of the whole system. So over time, it will all bleed to here, and that will help a lot.
All right, you got a...
Okay, well, that isn't sealed as well as we would like, so we're gonna have to monkey with that. As you can see, now that it's under pressure, she's leaking a little, so we got to look at that. In fact, you can see it's definitely the hose. Hopefully you guys can see. Let me see if I can zoom in. So see, you can see the line of it. Okay, so we had to do it. We had to go to the evil worm clamp. We're hoping that's going to work. We'll try. Unfortunately, that tension clamp with as old as that water pump is and a little groovy, the tension band just wasn't enough. So at some point we'll change the water pump, but we don't know what else in this car needs change. We know the suspension needs work and all that, but that's not part of this project. That's future stuff, so you got something to do. We've thrown a little fluid in the trans, so it reads it's over full right now, but it's not. It hasn't filled any lines or anything yet, and I guarantee the torque converter's low. So I know we got to add more, but there's no point in overflowing the pan at this point. So we had some power steering fluid, we had some tranny fluid. We did find one other leaky area. This bolt shouldn't be going into water, but it does. So we had to pull that and throw some sealant on it. We don't know back here yet, and we don't know in the cab yet until the water pump starts pushing. We just don't know. But I think we're getting pretty close to making sure all of this cycles. You know, no fluid on the floor. That's always a good thing. We don't want that. So I think when we, in just a little bit, honestly, we're getting pretty close. When we try to start it, I think I'm just going to put this on the tripod, you know, kind of doing something like that. And then, you know, it'll be helter-skelter. All right. Okay, so tell the people what we're doing.
All right, so this is first start. Pull this paper out.
Alright, get it. Okay, wait, put the seal right.
It started.
Okay, it started. It's got to learn how to idle. It started right away. Look for tricks. Actually, how we started it, training fluid.
Oh, good point. Hang on.
I'm going to give it one more flip over.
Yep. Wow.
Look for learning to do.
Just right above full hot oil. I think we're good for a little bit.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, apparently we can't be that far off of timing because it started.
Yep.
Okay. This keeps turning off every time we start the car.
What's that?
The sniper is turning off when I start the car. Watch. Shouldn't be able to do that. So something isn't to the right. It's on an ignition, but it's not on an ignition at all.
Oh. So it's shutting down.
Yeah, so there's a little wiring I gotta do there. So the ignition that I talked to is.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, very far off, I'm gonna do some damage. I don't know what. See, then I
Yep.
lose fuel.
Yep. Computer goes away.
Okay. Alright, that's where we're at. Pull the battery and turn it off. It starts.
Yep.
It starts. It starts. Let me tell the camera. Okay, the sniper screen is every time I turn the key, it's on, it goes away, and then it starts rebooting the computer as it's stalling, which means our ignition source is not hot when we're cranking. So I'm gonna have to change that. That's gonna take me a couple of minutes. So we'll be back. Okay, I have a workaround for now. It's gonna take me probably an hour and a half, 2 hours to do the actual fix. So because the project changed a little, I wasn't paying attention. I have my ignition switch from circuit 100. Unfortunately, that's not hot in crank. Eventually 106 is the circuit we're going to be on, which will be hot in crank. But for now, I've just got a jumper wire going from my position here to an ignition setup. So he's checking fluids, and we're just going to try to get it to run for a few seconds here. That's where we're at. So take this out of the way, I'm getting ready to put the battery back on. Hopefully everything's plugged back in. I unplugged a bunch of stuff. Alright. How are you doing on fluids? That should have been enough to move the oil.
Train was good.
Okay, that looks good. How does the engine oil look?
We'll see in a second. Oh, we look good.
Perfect. Yep. Because we should have filled that filter by now. Yeah, the part.
In park.
Yep.
First squirt.
Oh, she's trying to run now. So. Still reboot. Not sure what's going on there. further troubleshooting to do. We'll bring you back in a bit. Okay, after a little troubleshooting, a couple things came up. One, we reshimmed the starter. That was really dragging. I'm sure you heard it. Two, we didn't have our ground very tight. It's still not super tight, but it's a lot tighter now, and apparently that matters. Three, we opened the throttle blades. They really weren't. And four, and most importantly, when we, the sniper screen's a little sensitive, and we must have skipped right over saving the fact that this is a 389 and not a 10 cubic inch engine. So it just fired 2 seconds ago. We've been doing this for a while. So let's see if it'll fire again. So key on. We have fluids. Very loud. That's what it takes. Oh, the belt being tight.
There's a lot more.
Right, where did we spill something?
Yeah, something's really going down there.
Just spilled some tranny fluid or something.
Well, we'll take a look. We'll pick the car up and take a look. We'll report right back.
All right, we're trying to heat cycle here because we had some smoke, and we try to get up, see if we can even get up there and see where it is. Oh, maybe not. Well, hang on. All right, we're trying to tighten down the exhaust through some heat cycling, and you see you can get to that stud right there on the driver's side. You can get to both of the studs over here. We can barely get into the other one on the other side. There's only 2 studs, and we've got a socket stuck in there. Aaron can barely see it. Trying to lift that starter up a little bit to get a little bit of space, but how it is wedged in there, and there it goes.
Boy, did that take some force.
The frame was right there, and yeah, so it's right over there.
Yeah.
There it is.
So
All right,
reached the frame.
there you go, and that's
Oh, that's hot.
it's hot. It just came off the exhaust,
Yes, it did.
and it's all ShopDog approved.
We've got that going, and he's been playing with the air ride, and the car is a high riser now. Water's at 180, so in about 2 seconds, I really want to shut this car down. She's going to get hot. She's going to overflow. We've seen that before, where I get too greedy and I don't have a cap on. So let's just stay away from that funnel, because there's still more heat. So we didn't run it very long, but she got good and hot. But more importantly, we had to have the alternator running to really get to play with the air ride stuff. And now the car is sitting like a 4x4. This thing's crazy. We're still
all the way to the top.
Yeah, so they're as high up as they go. We're still definitely burning stuff off from the paint and touching stuff. You know, you can see paint darkening as we do this. Unfortunately, that's the nature of engine paints. That's why we've got the door open, so we don't all die. Obviously, there's a little bit of moisture in the air. We're spitting a little out. No biggie. But she starts in idles now. It feels a little high yet, but you know, I don't know that she can turn her down because we haven't really monkeyed with the throttle position stop screw yet. Because all we care about right now is finding out what else leaks, what else do we have to do. We're still got to fill trans fluid. We have not gone through and bled the brakes yet. We know we're replacing this water pump. The corrosion on the lower neck is just too much. We can't get it to seal. I've got to align the reverse switch, which is something I just never got around to. And there seems to be some kind of leak in the power steering system down here. The bottom of the box has a drip, but we can't seem to find the leak, so it might actually be the box. So we'll deal with that. Obviously, I've still got to do the wiring thing for the ignition for the EFI. But this was a pretty major day for us. So we're not done yet, but we're letting this cool down. So she'll get a little warm, and I don't want her overflowing. Okay, we're letting this kind of cool down a little bit. You know, there's a few more things we want to do. We know that if we just throw the cap on there, we're going to find out just how bad that leak is. So we don't want to deal with it right now. I know we should have replaced the pump when it was on the motor or on the engine stand, but it didn't leak when it came here. But apparently that's because it was rusted or corroded to its hose. So now we'll change it. It's not the end of the world on this car. It's just a series of bolts, and then there's this little donut gasket that goes to the intake. So that's not the end of the world. You know, the fan doesn't hit anything. Nothing there seems to squeak. We got the belts tightened up a little bit. Yeah, you can see the discoloring. So all this paint needs to heat cycle a few times. That's going to be fun and stinky. Got the brakes tightened. Apparently, nobody at any point bothered tightening those to the firewall. So I think we thought they were coming off at some point. So that's taken care of. And like I said in the last little segment, we have our list. They're in monkeying with the back. One of the things we'd like to get accomplished today is get the air ride calibrated. And then once that's run through its full calibration, then we'll definitely feel a lot better. We're also, I think, when we're done, going to leave the car all the way up so we can, and you know, take a piece of tape and tape measure the heights of all of them, and then see just how much bleeds down. I'll come out every couple days and write down how much it bleeds down, you know, just because we're curious. So I'm not sure if these systems are supposed to continuously hold air or not. Don't know a lot about air suspension. Hopefully you guys can hear me over this fan. If you can't, well, this is a boring clip. At this point, they're back there playing with the tailgate and the camera. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a moment. While we're waiting on the engine to cool a little, we're taking care of some other things. One of them is the fact that the camera was upside down. So I modified the little housing, and now he's putting it all together. And we'll get that up while we're here, you know, take care of housekeeping stuff. Okay, so in theory, we now have no more brake leaks. We'll find out, but we found one, obviously. I've got the rears bled up enough, you know, and now we're going to do the fronts. I'm not sure that the rear brakes are actually adjusted enough, so we're not going to have great pedal feel yet, but that's okay as long as they work. So we're going to finish bleeding these real quick. Okay, brakes bled pretty good, but something in this weird bell crank leakage stuff we're not happy with, so we're leaving the brake sticker on there. We'll visit that later. Right now, what we really want is air ride calibration. So Pixie's getting ready to get in and start the car. We did decide, well, we'll take the risk. We're going to pressurize it. We know we have the one leak. Guess we're about to find out if we have any more. So, but I thought it would geyser no matter what we did, and we really don't want that. So, fuel pump's running. I heard that.
Ready?
Yeah, go for it. Starts up real nice and easy. Yeah, the pulleys are, you know, within GM tolerance. What do you do? Tightening the belt really helped. These mufflers are a lot louder than what's going to be on the car when we're done. But that is crazy town. Yeah. Woo! It's doing stuff. Oh, that's so cool. F10. Wow, there must be a lot of steps.
A lot of steps.
Yeah, tank pressure's still good. Yeah. In fact, while he's on his, okay, so they must be running the pumps. Yeah. And then I can see, you know, we got 12.9 on the gauge, but that's probably because this alternator is charging. Oh, it just kicked down. So the alternator is probably charging that battery. We started at 10 times. So everything seems to be working. Water temp is coming up. We expect that. Hey, is the tack work? Over on the right? Other right. Yeah, if you pull the dimmer on, eventually we'll have it on for daylight. Now you should be able to see it. Oh yeah, it's working. Sweet. So yeah, the car's just bouncing and a bopping, doing what it does. Hey, we're not smoking as bad. It will. It definitely will. But yeah, the paint's starting to kind of heat set. I don't know how it's doing it or what it's doing, but it's trying to figure out what it's got to do. Oh boy, look how low the back gets. That gets really crazy. You're high rides in it now. What do they call it? Low rider. So, oh boy. Yeah, there. I knew that would come up sooner or later. Because remember, we painted those manifolds and we painted the heads. And even though it's the right paint, it does need to heat set. Looks like the alternator's doing its job. So, at this point, we're pretty happy. Let's go see what step he's on. What step are you on? Oh my God, there's a lot of steps. Oh, we were never going to do that without the car running. That's why they wanted the car running. We'd have killed the battery for sure. Because I'm sure it's pumping it up, pumping it down, pumping it up, pumping it down. Yeah, but we're almost halfway through. There's a lot of steps to this.
Got to do the back lift.
Yeah, but this is pretty neat. It's really taking itself seriously. On the upside, the fan seems to work. And then at some point, we will fine-tune the timing. This is obviously close enough because the car runs. So, you know, you got to take what you can get there. So while they're calibrating, hit monitor, the middle one in the top. You gotta, there you go, hit sensors. Okay, and yeah, God, this car is so loud. But I'm looking, so, okay, fuel injection I'm believing. The IAC position seems a little crazy. That is very, very open to get it to idle here. So, well, I'll have to deal with that. TPS looks right. Let me see something real quick while we're here. Let me grab a screwdriver. Here's one. Should do the job. What's the IAC position now? 82. Okay. Huh. I would expect the IAC to be closing more. So why do I got to open this so much? So see, now the IAC's at 79 and the throttle position is open. Okay. Well, we'll have to play with that later. Yeah, 88, but now it's a little happier. So we'll get all that calibrated later. What I care about is coolant temperatures coming up. So, and the car's coming back down. It's bouncing.
These two are matched and almost identical.
Yeah, because remember, the HEI goes to the sniper, and then the sniper has an output going to the Dakota. So sooner or later we'll get in and calibrate the Dakota and get all that done and set up the odometer. But the speedometer is going to have to wait till it's a driving car, but everything else we should be able to get set up pretty quickly. So yeah, it's doing the decay, it's going around. I want to start looking for more leaks because this is the hottest we've been. I have to assume that oh yeah, that's open. So yeah, thermostat definitely open. So that seems to be the only leak I see so far, was the one we were dealing with on that lower rad, and we're just gonna replace the pump. I guess we should have before. I don't see any fluid here or here or here. The next place I want to look is up under the stash real quick. Of course, it's going to take me a moment. Alright, do we see anything leaking? I do not see anything leaking. So that's good. Something just changed. So, whew, yeah, I know. I'm going to turn the big fan on. That's why we got the door open. So, at this point, things seem to be working. I like that we're finally idling a little. Yeah. Yeah, because 100%. That seems backwards to me. Like I said, I'll play with that later when I can throw it in the laptop. How are we doing on our cow?
Calibration's done, setting up the remote control.
Oh, yeah, remember he's got that little thing in the cigarette lighter. So now he's just doing his setup. This is one of those things we've been dying to get set up, and we just couldn't until we had a running engine. So 220 on the water, that doesn't make us happy.
220 there, 216 here. Yeah, it's getting hot.
Yeah, we're getting warmish. We can go just a little longer. How much longer do you have?
I don't know.
So, yeah, I'm curious why we're getting so hot, or did this actually open? Ooh, that sure is hot. You know, we don't know if this fan even works. Let me grab a piece of paper. Now tell me, is the fan blowing the right way? Oh yeah. Yeah, the fan's blowing. You can see, the fan's going the right way. We just weren't sure. But it's all new, so gotta let it all wear in. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, they're not that far apart from each other, but each sensor's a little different. So, alright, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Let's call it. Okay, now turn her back just to on so he can continue his work. Little further. 1966 switch, not 1968 switch. So, okay, yeah, it's got a little smoky in here. Okay, there are a few questions at this stage. One, why did this get so hot? We're kind of hoping when we pull that water pump that we find, you know, the impeller is spun off or something. So, we're a little worried about that. Let's see, got to get the sniper actually adjusted. We have a feeling we might be a little advanced on our timing. We weren't really set up or planning to adjust that at this stage. We can take care of that in the future. We may be ever so slightly advanced, which would definitely also help us heat up. Yeah, we're really concerned about that. Oh, that hose, that brand new hose there's a hole in it, so we're going to have to replace that. Because remember, just because it's new doesn't mean it's good. They're in, I think they're both hitting the head. And we're going to pick the car up a little bit and see just how much of an overflow mess we just made. Get that cleaned up. And we also found, after swapping that camera upside down, it no longer works. So I'm going to have to look into that a little further. Yeah, so our list actually got a little bigger. Okay, we're tired. We've had a day. we actually got a lot further than I thought we would. Got to deal with that camera. You know, we may have pulled a little too hard on that. So, you know, the wires in those things are so thin. Let's see. You know, obviously we're changing the water pump, so he's going to order one of those. Believe it or not, the ignition switch we're a little suspect of, so we're probably going to want to take care of that. I've got to do that wiring fix for the EFI so that it's on ignition. That's also on crank. I got to get the reverse switch lined up. The power steering box we think might have a leak. We're not sure. And this brake booster makes a... Here, let me see if I can recreate it. I could before pretty easy. And it's probably just all this weird bell cranky stuff going on here. Now that I've tightened it all up. Watch. So I go, okay, here, it's stiff. Boom. That. What is that? Why is it clicking?
Oh, I see it.
So that's what we got to deal with. So, yeah.
Standing from that side, I could see this little thing come and a click and then pop back.
Okay. So there might be something we've got to deal with there. It's just bolts. It's just time. They're not the easiest bolts to get at, but, you know. So, little things. I think we finally have all our brake leaks taken care of. A lot of tuning to do on the Sniper. Not too worried. Car runs. Have an odd suspicion that we're really advanced on our timing, but that's okay. It's going to work out. On the upside, the timing marks are nice and visible. We don't really know why we got so hot so fast. So we're really hoping that when we pull that water pump off, we're seeing an impeller that isn't working or that's completely gummed or something. So we'll deal with that. Ignition works. Fuel seems to work perfectly fine. We can't find any leaks. The O2 sensor was working. The exhaust is so loud. Those are not the Forever mufflers. Those are...
They're awful.
Oh, yeah, they sound terrible, and they're so loud. But that's okay. I mean, honestly, we'd probably be better off without them. But we'll deal with that when we get there. You know, some small things to take care of. Like, I haven't done the programming for the 400 kickdown. We've done no testing on the Dakota cruise module. We've done no calibration of the Dakota setup, you know, for the gauges. You know, there's little things like that we've got to do. But overall, everything seems to be working pretty okay. You know, little minor things. What do you expect? This car was apart for 3 years. Well, what, 2 years and... Well, actually, literally 2.5 years.
2.5 years?
Yeah, because it came in February. So, okay. ShopDog is exhausted. He wants to go have himself some Zopa. So, at this point, what do we say, guys?
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.